Hello, welcome back to Super Sentai Reviews. And in this episode, this is episode, let me look it up here. Just want to make sure I'm on the right number for uh episode. Uh Sorry about this. I just want to be sure I got this right. Okay. This is episode 9, and this one I'm going over. Let's see if I can find the actual name. It is the 35th Sentai, because this was the 35th anniversary of the series. Excuse me. It is Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger, aka the Pirate Sentai. Yep. Now, simply put, when this thing first started in the very first episode, of course, it's kind of expanded upon in the anniversary film. Basically, there was this legend war where pretty much the first 34 Sentai teams all teamed up in this awesome, badass formation, led of course by Aki Red of Go Ranger, and his second command being Big One of Jack. So they lead their forces. Now, there's some suits I recognize because I've watched Power Rangers, so I knew exactly who they were. The rest of them I didn't recognize all that much, but this is an awesome scene to see. The episode's called Pirates Appear, though I will get to later on episode. I'm not exactly going through every single episode, just going through this one because it's the first episode. And they defeat all of their all these troops of the Zangenki Empire. This was, of course, the first wave. Yeah, because they come back later on. They decided to sacrifice their powers in order to stop the first fleet that came to Earth. And then, of course, about a few years passed by, jump to the present day, and somehow, someway, it's kind of explained in flashbacks later on that these 5 pirates have found these Ranger keys. And it's essentially the Sentai keys. It's Sentai powers. And they say, Gokai change, where they have this phone. They put and have a key. It's kind of like turning on a car. And it's a Gokai change. And they transform into, first their regular form, which is the pirate form that you've probably seen in Super Mega Force. And then they transform to the other ones, and of course, since this is a Super Sentai, they transform first into the Go Ranger. Though in Super Mega Force, they transform into the Samurai form simply because Samurai was popular. That's the only reason why. Now, there's a lot of trivia episodes for some of these particular Sentai. Not a lot of them got trivia episodes per se, but a lot of them did. Like the very second episode is one for Deki Ranger, which is one used for SPD. No, I've not watched it yet. I've watched their crossover film with Aba Ranger, but I've not watched the action time stuff. Basically, it's kind of the same premise as SPD, except that in that particular Sentai, there was no actual organization. Though Batling, I think his name is, who was the henchman Emperor Grum, who was the mercenary that Emperor Grum hired, he was the main bad guy of that particular Sentai, and all the criminals that operated that basically got their stuff from him. He's basically just a mercenary. That's simply what he is, and he's a weapons trader. This one, in this particular one, because somehow the Zangenki had put a bounty on the heads of the Gokaiger, not bounty. Basically, they're accused of piracy. So the Deki Rangers tried to arrest them. Basically, only 2 of them, only 3 of them actually show up. The guy who's in charge of Deki Rangers Earth Branch, the red one who shows up at the end, and the pink one. And that's it. Just those 3. Which is not bad, per se. Now, in Megaforce, they never took time to have an SPD tribute at all. While in Gokaiger, they did. And their plan was to use these drills. Oh yeah, and this explained both in Super Mega Force and in Super Sentai that these things are super expensive and they can only use them once. So if they fail, they can't use them ever again because they were super expensive. So I get the fact of why they kept that in. They kept that little stipulation, which I don't mind. They kept that in, but yeah, and of course they stopped them anyways. Now, some of the other tributes. Now, the one tribute that's just as good as the Super Mega Force one is the one for Jungle Fury, which I believe is... I want to look this up so I can get this properly. It is Geki Ranger. Yes, Geki Ranger. This is the one used for Jungle Fury. Its Sentai counterpart episode is still just as good as this one. Now, for the Samurai tribute, unlike in Mega Force, where it was disappointing because, well, you have the Red Ranger and Mentor G show up for a quick cameo, and the tribute one for which is Shurikenger, that's the name of the Samurai one. The tribute episode was actually quite interesting. Now, instead of bringing back the male Red Shurikenger, they brought back the female who was the real one, like how it is in Samurai. And Mentor G's counterpart is basically the retainer. Pretty much he serves the same function. Or at least almost the same exact function as it does in Power Rangers per se. I haven't finished watching Shurikenger yet to get that full premise. But yeah. And unlike Samurai, who does virtually jack squat to actually help them, here's what this Red Shurikenger, without her powers, she just used her katana and sliced a bunch of robots. That's a lot more than Jaden ever did. The only thing Jaden ever did was simply run into them at the juice bar, well, basically a Slurpee shop, and give them a disc. That's it. That's all he did. In the Sentai counterpart, they actually fought them. Yes, they fought them. She fought them by herself. And because she knew people were in trouble. And despite the fact she did not have her range of powers, she can still fight. And she beat the crap out of the robot, out of the foot soldiers of the Zenki Empire. And I'm impressed. And it was a two-parter, which was a bit of a surprise, but eventually they did get the Shurikenger powers. The Wild Force one, basically Gao Ranger in Sentai. Basically, this one's a heck of a lot better, simply for the fact they actually brought back an actor from that Sentai to this one. They brought back the Red Gao. They brought back Gao Red, who was a doctor. They brought him back for this one, which I was so happy to see him. And I was so impressed that they did this. And I keep wondering, why couldn't Megaforce actually bring back an actual actor from the show? Oh, that's why. Because they ticked them off. That's why Saban, either that or Saban basically couldn't get contact with any of them. That's my personal theory anyways. The RPM tribute, which in Megaforce, Super Megaforce was really bad. Gokaiger, which is a Sentai counterpart. This one was a lot more better because, one, they have an actor from the show. This one is actually the Red Ranger, and Gokaiger is basically a group of race car drivers, unlike in RPM, where they're just guys who wear these race car themed suits in a post-apocalyptic future. It's a similar type of situation. Oh, and the whole desert stuff, that's actually the machine world in the Sentai footage. That's simply what it is. And they recruit and by the way, the Zords actually talk. I'm not kidding, they talk. And to the Zords, and I'm like, what? Really? Yeah, apparently two Zords, a male and female Zord, made it, and they made this one Zord. I'm like, wow, Sentai. I get the fact they could have bring that up, because even a kid in the US, like, what? Really? They're probably scratching their head like, how the heck does that work? Or at least maybe a teenager watches, like a teenager who basically knows about stuff like this. Like, they're like, what the heck are you talking about? How the heck can two machines do it? It's really bizarre, to say the least. But they keep him as a partner, and they call him on occasion. But whenever they don't use him, he goes back to Machine World. They did not have one for Operation Overdrive and Mega Force, probably because they didn't have time to. Of course, in my opinion, they should have just made it a complete set Power Ranger show and still made it the same season, but who the heck knows. Baku Ranger, which was basically Operation Overdrive, their tribute actually was really good because there's something quite unique with this one. This one, they brought back one of the villains from that Sentai. Apparently, he survived an explosion. I haven't watched Baku Ranger yet, so I don't have the full details on it. Apparently, he survived an explosion. Heck, the Red Baku Ranger actually surprised to see him because, well, they thought he was dead. And the suit that he wears when he's not as Ranger, it's similar to what they wear in Operation Overdrive, and it's a similar premise from what I've heard. Of course, I haven't watched it yet. Gangamon, their tribute was actually pretty ingenious because they brought back two people from that Sentai, the two brothers. And unlike in Lost Galaxy, where the Magnet Defender basically lost his powers, this one he never did. And they were attacked by a guy named Joker, I think it's called. That's his name. And they were trying to steal his is basically the Sentai power of the Gangamon, and they unlocked it pretty easily. Mega Ranger, they brought back Kenta, and apparently he's gotten older and he's become a teacher at the high school he graduated from. Okay, that's actually quite ingenious. And he says he'll give him the power of Mega Ranger if they attend one day of school at this high school. Okay, fine. I should also point out that when they're bringing the Silver Ranger, it's actually quite different than how he brought it in Megaforce. How he's brought in Super Sentai is actually quite simple. Basically, he just shows up now and again. Basically, tries to help them out, and basically he tries to talk to Captain Marvelous, and he has to get his permission to join the crew of the Galleon. To join them, which, okay, I get the fact why he asked him, because he's the leader of the group, and you gotta get his blessing to join the group, which I get the reason why. And here's the thing: the Silver Ranger, the Silver Gokaiger, he is a Super Sentai fanboy. He knows everything about the Super Sentai, the whole everything about them, which his knowledge does come in handy. They do play it up with it, like one basically, which Sentai I never watched, where they were, where apparently these five, there was this one tribute episode they did, I don't remember, I think it was Live Man, I think it was, where apparently the black one died, apparently off screen, and five of them have been seeing his ghost, and somehow he can transform into his Ranger form, even though that they have his Ranger key, and they're like, what the heck? Really? Okay. Yeah, they also have one for one that deals with robots. They had the Yellow Ranger show from that. I don't remember its name. It's one of the 80s ones. I think it's I think it might be either Bioman. I know Changeman, they couldn't use him. Apparently they took his apparently the Joker guy, he took his power. And the thing about this Joker guy, he actually was Captain Marvelous's crewmate. He was I believe he was the cook of that shit. Basically, it was him, Abba Red, and himself. Basically, and Abba Red gave him all the Ranger keys, and they spent time capturing him. And to explain flashbacks of how basically Marvelous recruited his crew. The first was the blue one, then it was the yellow, then the pink, and then last was the green, which his name is Doc. And they gave some of his traits to the Blue Ranger, the Blue Megaforce Ranger. Okay. And of course, they do build that giant bazooka gun like they have in Super Megaforce. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else. Well, I'm trying to think though. Oh yeah, Die Range, which I do plan on reviewing that very soon. This one technically was not a tribute one per se, But they did bring back the Red Dye Ranger, the leader of that group. I will get to that one in a future episode because I did watch that recently. Yeah, they brought a lot of these characters back. Heck, they never had one for Zoo Ranger at all. They did bring back the Black, the Mammoth Ranger. They brought him back for the finale. And by the way, the finale is completely different than how it is in a Super Mega Force. And by the way, it's a lot better. Yes. So, even though this is filled with live trivia episodes, now I haven't got to the previous Sentai, which is their team up when they met up with Gokaiger. Mainly because I've only watched a few episodes of Gokaiger, and I've watched some episodes. I haven't finished watching any of it. Heck, they actually give an explanation of their presence in Gokaiger versus Shurikenja film. Basically, it was time travel. Yeah, it was basically part of a tribute for Time Ranger, where basically the yellow Time Ranger basically asked them to save this shrine. Protect this shrine from being destroyed. Of course, as later explained exactly why this had to be saved. And they run into a photographer. They run into this little, the Silver Ranger. He runs into a little boy, keeps an eye on him until his mother shows up. And his mother, actually, I found this out basically after finished watching Time Ranger. His mother is the photographer from Time Ranger. And she had a thing for the Yellow Time Ranger, for Time Yellow. And in order to prove that they actually succeed, they took a picture. Which, okay, that's actually quite ingenious. Take a picture. And they sent it to the future. And what he's shocked to see is that the woman he fell in love with in the past actually had the child. He never knew about that at all. So apparently in the future, a few years have passed by since he went to the present, even though that in actuality it had been about 10 years per se. Yeah, it had been like 10 years. Actually been like 11 years since at this point, because Gokaiger came out in 2012. It had been like 11 years since Time Ranger aired. So quite ingenious. And they all seen with Hurricaneger, which something they never actually did in Mega Force. Actually have a tribute to Ninja Storm. Nope, didn't bother to have that one. Nor one for Down Thunder, the season that brought back Tommy. They kind of had that in Abba Ranger. The tribute for that one is they brought back the blue one, and apparently his wife was one of the other supporting characters. And apparently she's the 200th here, and the suit looks really weird. Where apparently it's incomplete. It looks like a makeshift Ranger costume. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And it was a nice little tribute episode. In the case of Hurricane, I've watched some episodes. I have not finished watching the episode of that one. That one, they fought the sons of two villains from that show. And they teamed up with the original 3 Hurricanegers, where they gave back the Ranger keys on to morph into their Ranger forms, their Sentai forms. Which was a nice little tribute episode. I found it to be pretty enjoyable, per se. I'm trying to think, though. Oh, they had sort of a tribute to Jock, where it involved cards, which one of the themes of Jock was cards. It was a nice little tribute. Let me think. Oh, and there was a reason why they actually used that guy's ship in Megaforce. Why they had to have the Silver Ranger use it. Simply put, it was used in the Sentai footage simply because they actually killed him and took his ship as basically collateral and used it to destroy the ship of the main Zanganki fleet. Yeah, destroy the ship, but the Emperor was not killed. The Rangers later fought the Emperor, and they all morphed into them. Oh, they did have sort of a tribute to Go-Go 5. It was simply the pink one coming back and him trying to rescue stuff. It was a nice little episode. Trying to think, was there any more trivia episodes I could think of? I don't think there was. None that I can think of, no. Not for this particular Sentai, of course. In the next episode, I'm going to go over the Gokaiger movies, which there were 3 of them. There is the anniversary film, They're one that when they took on Space Sheriff Gavin, which first parents the Go Blasters, and of course the Ghost Ship one, which I will talk about those three in the next episode in different order. Is this better or just as good as Megaforce? It's better than Super Megaforce because this one, the source material, in the case of this one, it's definitely better. I highly recommend tracking this down, even though probably the only place you can find it is basically through Facebook. I'm not going to say exactly where you can find it, but just type it on Google where you can find the episodes, and it will take you right to them. Yeah, I do recommend watching each episode in order. That's so you don't get lost. Because the thing with these Sentai is there's no jumping on point at all. Okay? And I give the Sentai a 9.5 out of 10. It's great. Next episode, the 3 movies. I am not going to go over the crossover ones I did with Kamen Rider and Space Sheriff Gavin, those team up ones. And I'm not currently going to do their team up with the Go Blasters because I've only seen the film once and I've not watched Go Blasters at all. But from what I've watched, from the footage I've seen of Go Blasters, from the 2 movies I've seen them in, they don't look interesting at all. It's basically 5 people who morph into motorcycle suits and they take on viruses. Yeah. I can kind of see why that Saban skipped over this one because this one, I mean, trying to adapt Go Blasters would not be interesting in the slightest, simply because it would not be interesting per se. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode for the 3 Super Sentai movies from the 3 Gokaiger movies, and in episode 11, I am going to go over O Ranger. Yes, the Super Sentai for Power Rangers. Yeah, that's episode 11. And in episode 12 will be Jew Ranger. And 13 will be Die Ranger. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.